You know, I had a chance to reconnect with Quinn. Over 20 years ago, he brought me to these mountains when we were in college, staying as roommates, and introduced me really to archery hunting elk. I grew up hunting deer. Quinn and I went up and hit the mountains one day when we were in college, and he had called in this 4 point bull, and it was barking and bugling. At first, we thought it was another hunter, but this bull came right in about 45 yards. And really, that was the start of my excitement for archery elk hunting. Last year, I was up here in these same mountains in the same location with my brother. He had a deer in the antler, and that was a unique opportunity for me to film that shot. And so interesting just to watch this deer with this arrow stuck in his antler. And then I had an opportunity later on to get down within 60 yards of a bull that was bedded. And then here came another bull that gave me a great shot in which I had a chance to harvest. So here we are again. It's been now about 9 years since I've hunted with Quinn up in these mountains. And we have an opportunity again to get together, and I'm excited for this chance to be together. So Wednesday night, we set up our tent and got ready. Our strategy was to get up and just work in a little bit. We did have a full moon though, and so we were curious how that would affect our hunting on this trip. But Quinn and I headed up. We didn't see any elk right first thing. One of the first things we saw when we were sitting on the side hill was these 3 coyotes, and they were up on the ridge, and I thought, oh man, that's not what I want to see. Last year I watched an elk herd as a couple coyotes came across the ridge, and they weren't spooked terribly bad, but they stood up and just walked off. So here we go. We'll enjoy these next couple days and see what we can find. Well, it didn't take too much longer. Here we came up over this little ridge, and just coming through the saddle, we had about 25 elk come through here. Now this was pretty fun. A while back I had a friend tell me how elk, when they're growing their antlers, often will eat bones that they find on the ground. And it was interesting, I didn't notice this. I was filming these spikes, and here's this cow. Look at this cow here. She's got a bone that she's eating on right there. So it was kind of interesting to hear that story, and then looking back on this film, it was interesting to see here's this cow. And I don't know if that's just an opportunity for them to get more calcium in their body or helps their bone growth, or what the history is there. But anyways, just fun to see their different habitat, what they live off of, and just their routine. So we were kind of up in the open. We couldn't get too close to this group here, and so we just sat and watched them, enjoyed them for a little bit, looked around to see what other elk we could see, and figured we'd wait until they kind of went into the trees, and then we'd make a move on them. As soon as that sun broke the horizon, it didn't take them long, and they were starting to work their way down into the trees. We circled around, caught a little moose there walking over the hill, and just wanted to get the wind in our favor. So here we go now. We're trying to see if we can get down in close and call a little bit, see if we can get these elk to come into us. It's been a warm year though, so it's been interesting just trying to get around. It's noisy, there's not a lot of water, and you know, last year at this time we probably had 6 or 8 inches of snow, so a little different year. Last we got in We bumped the elk a couple times, but never could get close enough. So back to camp and another day tomorrow. So we glassed up these elk the day before and thought we'll go see if we can figure out where they're hanging out. So got up early, made our way up the next hill, and just into the morning we did spot and found the bull that was with this group. Was down in this little gully and just coming out to where we could see him. So we watched him for a little bit and bedded him. And then Quinn at first made his move. He headed around the canyon to see if he could get on top of him. But in his travels, he ran across this nice buck. And so he called me over and we made a plan to see what we could do.
There's a really nice 4-point buck down about 350 yards below us. I spotted him when I was trying to get over the hill to go in on some elk. So we'll leave those elk alone for right now. And the buck just got up and looked down canyon and sat back down where he'd been for an hour. So I'm going to try and swing down. Should be able to cut the distance to 100 yards pretty easily. We'll see where it goes from there. All right, we'll do it.
Oh, this was a huge letdown. Quinn had been watching this buck bedded. And out of our control, there was some howling or something going on down the canyon. So right as he went to work down into this buck had enough and decided, I'm getting out of here. So unfortunately, we waited the whole time. I came around the mountain, and just as we wanted to get on him, look at that buck. What a beautiful animal. Then we had one more challenge. So we decided we want to get back over on these elk on just the other side of the hill. But we've got these 5 cows and calves here that we had to figure out how to get past in order to make a stalk on this animal down here. But just as we were walking over, we're about ready to go see if we can get on these elk. Quinn looks down the canyon, and just below us, there's this bull in this little group of pine trees looking at us. He's all by himself. So, another change of plans. We thought, well, he's going to be far easier to go after. So, Quinn makes a stalk and heads down to see if he can get onto the single bull. Let's see how all this works out. Right here, Quinn had tried to take his shoes off to see if he could sneak down a little quieter, but I think he decided maybe that was a little too painful, so we put him back on. Alright, he's only probably about 80 to 100 yards right here. And trying to figure out the wind and work his way down in there. This is the first time this bull looked back up the hill. But now, up until now, he had no idea that Quinn was there. So he senses something's going on. He just stood up. Oh, he's heading out. He's heading down the hill. Well, Quinn was busted. And this elk headed out. And one of the things I totally love about hunting up here in Idaho with Quinn and in this area is, you know, we can't say that we haven't had a lot of opportunities, and it's just a lot of fun. This open country, to see these animals out there and get an opportunity to go after them. Certainly doesn't work out every time, but sure are some gorgeous animals. Quinn had mentioned that maybe he just made a little noise while he was walking down that hillside, but I don't think he really knew what was up there above him, but he didn't run out too fast. He stopped just across the hill here and got a drink and then worked into another group of trees. But again, great opportunity, a lot of fun. After Quinn took a minute just to look around where that elk was laying, we had one more chance. There was still this bull on the other side of the mountain. He got up and started walking, and Quinn made one last effort. We had one more chance before it got dark, and he worked his way around the hill and I think got pretty close, but the elk turned, and you try to get with the bow within about 40 yards, and that is just a super challenge out here in this big country. So back to camp and hit it for another day. Well, our final day, we decided to head back on where we went up the first day, and we located the elk just across the hill here, up on top of the mountain first thing in the morning. And it was a little farther than we wanted to go the morning because we figured we only had about until lunchtime, and then we would head back to camp and break camp and head out. But we enjoyed a bright early morning and some deer that came up nice and close, and I just kept an eye on these elk and waited to see what else would unfold. Well, as we were waiting, we heard a bugle up in this gully, and then not long after, here came 2 to 3 different bulls that came up over the horizon and headed down into the trees fairly quickly. We worked our way through the trees and made some calls, and Quinn was actually able to pull this one spike all the way into about 50 yards, but he was just in such a thick area, we couldn't quite get a shot. So we held up for just a little bit and sat down and just watched for a minute as we waited to make a plan on what we wanted to do next. This is fun though, this little falcon, or this bird, he came in and he almost flew right into us and then swooped back around for a second look. Couldn't quite figure out what we were. Here we found a little grouse, but Quinn wanted to take a shot, but he didn't want to blow out these elk that we were waiting to see if we could get to.
About 70 yards down there, we had Mike was calling, cattle calling. Probably at least 5 minutes, if not more. And this spike came in real quiet behind this upwind. I was sitting looking more to the side and down, so I had my back to it. And all of a sudden I heard just a little bit of something, so I stood up and turned around. That sound, I think he was probably about 30 yards above me. I turned around, saw a flash of him. He was behind a tree, and he turned and ran up the hill about 10 yards, so basically 40 yards. So it turned out. He stood there, stopped broadside, looked at me, and took the shot. It was quick. I didn't have time to estimate, though. It turns out I estimated okay, 40 yards. I think it was just a bad shot. And it just sailed right over his back. Just probably missed by just a few inches, and lodged another 30 yards up the hill. So I'm going to dig it out, so do it again.
Good to be back at camp after many miles.
That's right.
It was easier coming back. Boy, I'm glad we didn't shoot anything.
Less work.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, this brings us to an end of another season. We're so grateful for the opportunity to be together and to enjoy these experiences that we'll remember for a lifetime. Just a great hunt and great friend. Well, until next year.